Okay. Good evening. Good evening. And welcome to the League of Women Voters of Ames and Story County Candidate Forum for the Slater City Council and Mayor races. For those of you who might not be familiar, the League is a nonpartisan political organization dedicated to encouraging citizens to be informed participants in their government on the local, state, and national levels. This forum is being recorded, as you can see, for upload to YouTube and the League of Women Voters of Ames and Story County Facebook page, and will be played and archived on KHOI FM 89.1 at a later date. Today is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. My name is Barb Peterson. I'm a member of the League, and I will moderate tonight's forum. So let's begin. All declared candidates for these offices have been invited to this forum, and tonight we have 4 of the 8 candidates. Excuse me.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, 5.
5, because
Of
Russ
the
is
8.
here. Okay, 1 candidate for Slater Mayor, incumbent Taylor Christensen, and 3 candidates for Slater City Council. That would be 4. We have Evie, Rays, we have Russ and it's Turhar, correct?
Yeah, that's very close.
Okay. And Julie Weeks and Erica Weeks Berger. And the forum this evening will be divided into 3 sections. First will be the candidates' opening remarks. Secondly, the candidates will take questions from you, the audience. And finally, closing statements from the candidates as time allows. Audience members, if you have a question to ask the candidates, please raise your hand, and a runner, Becky over here, will bring you a card or collect a card from you. I will read these questions to the candidates. Alternatively, you may step to the mic right here to ask a question. Okay, so candidates, we will begin with opening remarks from each of you. Try to limit your marks to 3 minutes. Our timekeeper will hold up a card when you have 30 seconds left in your allotted time. Okay, we will start the introductory remarks with Taylor Christensen.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to get in front of some residents, some great residents. My name's Taylor Christensen. I was born in Salt Lake City and my family migrated here. My mom is from Slater. We moved to Madrid where I grew up and graduated high school, proceeded to college at Grandview University, and then left for a career to Omaha and returned back to Slater here on Boone Street in about 8 years ago. My wife and I started our family here. We came back to Iowa to start our family here. My wife is a Ballard grad from Huxley, and I was compelled to run for mayor after our last mayor decided he was not going to seek office again. And have just learned so much over the past 2 years, and am actually somewhat in disbelief that here I am again running for re-election, and 2 years is behind us at this point. I believe we've accomplished a lot of positive things, but I believe there is a long road of a lot of things that still need to be accomplished to position Slater on the right path for what's coming to us in the next 10 and 20 years, and even 5 years for that matter. I'm very excited. One thing I'm maybe most excited about is how many candidates have shown interest this year in serving on our city council. The other thing I think that's really, really exciting, and something that I hope everyone in town takes a second to appreciate, is we have 3 outgoing members of our council, and all 3 of those members, the least amount of service from those members is 8 years. So we're losing 3 council members who have 8, 10, 12 plus years of service, and I think that's something that is really to be proud of, and we'll miss those council members, but I think the work they've done is what has created an environment where there's 7 candidates that are interested in those positions. I think that says a lot about what our town is, and I think that says a lot about what the future looks like in our town, and I hope that that continues to be the tradition when council seats and mayor seats turn over, is interested constituents and residents who seek this office. So glad to be here and glad to be with all 4 of you, and very excited and honored that you're all running, and look forward to hopefully the opportunity to work with all of you, but at least 3 of you.
Okay, Evie?
I'm Abby Reyes. I grew up here in Slater. I was the 12th of 14 children, and I actually live in the house where I grew up. I graduated from Ballard and then joined the Army National Guard, which at one point I was full-time National Guard at Camp Dodge. And I was retired as a major in 2001. And we raised our kids here, and we had several grandchildren that have graduated from Ballard also. The reason I'm running, I saw that 3 people were leaving, and I thought my chances were a little better. And we had 7 people, but I really feel a need to serve this community. I've served it in many different ways through Park and Rec Board, working with the soccer club, on the library board, things like that. And I just want to continue that service. Also the treasurer at the museum, Barb gave me a little nod there. So I feel like we're losing a lot of knowledge and dedication, and I think at this time that I am one of the people that can fill that role. So thank you for being here tonight, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. And Julie?
I was not born in Slater, but was lucky enough to marry into it. I'm married to Craig Weeks, and we've called Slater home for well over 40 years, even when I worked in Ames. We did raise our 2 children here, and I have grandchildren in the area, but not in Slater, unfortunately. But I do get to see a lot of them. We moved here from Utah after we first got married, and again, it was to raise our family. It's a great place to raise kids, and you know, they have the background, and we had a lot of family around, if you don't know that. And that was always great to have grandparents around and aunts and uncles that could also pitch in. My professional career was basically all in Ames. I started in the hospitality industry and worked at Gateway Center as a general manager, moved on to the Iowa State Center and did their conference services for the Sheeman, and then I ended up at the Ames Convention and Visitors Bureau, but had a joint relationship with Iowa State University doing events. So I've had a lot of experience on the business side of things, as well as the event side, as well as just working with a lot of different kinds of people over the many, many years. I have never run for public office before. I was sort of convinced after I kept talking about it by some people that just said, yeah, you can do that. But it does also, I recently worked with the new city staff. And I will tell you that we have some private business that we were doing with them, and the difference is night and day. And the reason I chose to run was really to be supportive of that staff. Slater is at a very interesting point. Our population had actually been going down for a while. It is now back up. We have more houses. We have a commercial district now. We have the trail, and there's just a lot of exciting things that we can invest in and look forward to. And working with the new staff was just really invigorating, and it was really fun. And so I thought it was a good time that I could actually do that. I had just come off the board of the Story County Community Foundation, which I did retire and took that position for about 5 years. And during that time, I was able to help both the library and the Historical Society set up funds for their profit or for their nonprofit raising, and also we got a grant for the Parks and Rec. So I think all those things are reasons why I'm involved in Slater.
Erica? Hi everyone, I'm Erica Weeksberger. I grew up, was born and raised just outside of town between Slater and Kelly. I'm a Ballard grad, as is my husband. We've lived in Slater for about 12 years. We owned the house just across the street from the park for about 10 years and moved to the other side of the park a year or so ago. So usually local folks know where we live. We have 3 kids that we raise, and one is in the Ballard School District and the others will be before we know it. Professionally, I have been in the banking industry my whole professional career. Some of you may recognize me. I worked at South Story Bank and Trust here in town for several years. I now work for a bank holding company in Ames and do HR work there. I'm in training and development. So civic engagement, community involvement has always been very important to me. I've been very involved in the community club for several years as treasurer. Now I'm vice president. And so we do the 4th of July and all those really great community events. Through that, I've been involved in the building committee for the community center and library, which got me kind of interested in watching or attending council meetings and being involved in kind of bigger picture and more, from a bigger picture, just what's going on in town. I want to continue that civic engagement in a new and different way. I think that my professional experience and just personally some of the skills that I have, I can help with the things that city council needs to maybe improve upon or do differently. Or I think I have ideas or things I can provide. I will echo, I haven't had a lot of engagement with the new city staff, but I think that I think change is good. I deal with that a lot in my work life. But I think change is hard, and I think that there's a lot that we can do to make some positive change with the opportunity with the change in administration. I think it's really exciting that we have 3 seats, like everybody else has said, that we have 3 seats and 7 people interested in running. I'm excited that 5 of those 7 are women. I think that is really great. And I think that no matter who you all choose to vote for, Slater's in really good hands. And so I'm thankful that you all attended and that we've got this forum to share our input.
Okay, Russ.
I'm Russ Terhar. I grew up in western New York outside of Rochester, small town called Farmington. Whenever I tell my carpet cleaning customers that I'm from New York, they think skyscrapers. Where I'm from is actually much more like where we live now, the Midwest. It's very agricultural, it's beautiful. Anyway, I went to high school in western New York, and then I chased downhill skiing for probably nearly 10 years. Colorado, eventually Montana, where I would meet Mel, my wife. She's the one that operates the public house most days. That's where you guys would know us. She's from Jefferson. We were sort of fixed up on a date out in Bozeman, Montana. We still have family out there. We would be married within 4 months, engaged within 1. And that was just about 17 years ago. I have a stepson, EJ. He's out in Bozeman. He is 24. Max is our son. He's 15. And we have actually 2 businesses. The one that I haven't mentioned yet is the reason for the public house. We sold our house in Huxley just before COVID, and we moved to town with the clean machine. The clean machine is my carpet and upholstery and tile, and we do lots of different types of cleaning. And that has been in operation in central Iowa since 2008 in Jefferson when we were married. I think that the place these guys have mentioned, the kind of the spot we are in history. We've had a 5-year bird's eye view of Main Street. We live above the building, above the public house. And I think I have a really good feel for the town. I have a lot of different friends from the coffee shop, and just I've met a lot of people, I guess, for somebody who's only been in town for 5 years. But I think that I would bring a unique skill set in that I think that Slater is at a point where we need to build a brand. How much time do I have?
37 seconds.
Okay. When you go into business for yourself, you find out that if you're good at a thing, that's part of it, sure, but you have to eventually build a brand around it. You have to figure out who you are and where you're going, what you can responsibly take down the road a distance without destroying yourself. And I think we have to do that here. We have to figure out, what are we doing? We can't just willy-nilly not have a plan. We have to have a plan. We have to, we're such an important part, and I'd be honored if you guys would consider us, when I say us, I mean my whole family, but I mean me, I guess, me as your representative.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Now I will read questions from the audience. And candidates, you will have 2 minutes to answer. And if there are questions to be asked as the 8 o'clock hour approaches, audience questions will take priority over your closing remarks that I had mentioned before. Okay. First question. What are the top 3 issues that you think Slater is facing in the next 4 years? And we'll start with Taylor.
Top 3 is a very short list of what we actually will face, but I'm going to focus on one main thing first, and that is the city of Huxley is going through significant growth, if you've been paying attention to our neighbors to the east. And that's a phenomenal thing for a lot of towns, and a lot of towns right now are chasing that. City governments, municipal governments face several revenue challenges when it comes to operating a city. Inflation is no different for a municipality than it is for an individual's household. All of the things we do in operations and all the products that we need to operate have gotten more expensive. Property taxes continue to go up, but the rate at which those have inflated has not offset the increasing in cost. And so as we face revenue challenges, I think we're at a strategic time where we have to be very, very thoughtful about what and how we want Slater to grow. And our neighbors to the east have a great community, but that community is going to blow up really quickly if you haven't been paying attention. They've recently announced that there's a 300,000 square foot cold storage facility going to be built just off of the interstate south of Highway 210. D.R. Horton has expressed interest in a development in the city of Huxley. And Anthem, which is a large development, will have many apartment complexes with multiple tenants. That will be one of the anchors in that development. So I think the population of the city of Huxley is dramatically going to look differently in the next 4 years. And I think as towns like that grow, there's residents in those towns that seek smaller towns. And so I think we're naturally going to see the pressure of people interested in coming to Slater. But I think we need to be thoughtful and considerate about how fast we grow, because if you're like me and the family I have here, we love Slater because of the size of Slater. It's a very big part of why we love Slater, but we do have to grow, because if we don't grow, we'll be consumed. So those are a couple of the big things.
Okay, Abby?
Could you read the question again?
What are the top 3 issues that you think Slater is facing in the next 4 years?
Well, I actually had anticipated some of these areas, so I had written something down, and I feel like you read my notes here, Taylor. My top priority is exactly what Taylor is saying, although I don't have all the facts about Huxley. I'm excited about the new staff coming on board. I've met with several of them and find them competent and very helpful. So one of my goals would be to develop a long-range plan that grows Slater in a way that keeps it a small town. I feel like Slater is a small town with big city amenities and services. I mean, we have the pool, we're developing a new recreation park, we're in plans for a new library. So all of those things will bring people to Slater, but it would be lovely to keep it with that small town feel. We have a huge sense of community here, and many Huxley residents tell me that. The other would be to create a business-friendly plan to revitalize Main Street, try to get more businesses there, that we can make Slater a destination, but then y'all please go home at the end of the day. The other would be to finalize the plans and begin work on the new library. I feel that's much needed. It serves, everyone can use the library, every last person. And I feel like that's a very necessary next step into the future for Slater. And I would focus on that, doing that in a fiscally responsible manner, but I do think it's one of my top priorities.
And thank you. And audience, if you have a question, just raise your hand and Becky will come around with the card. If you could write your question down on the card, and then she'll give it to me and I will ask the candidate. So, okay, Julie.
Well, much like the other candidates, it's the future of Slater, I think, that we're really all excited about. Whether it's our brand, and to me, the brand of Slater is really easy. We're the community where you want to raise your family. And that means that you have to have amenities for the entire age groups, from the little kids to some of the older ones of us that live in the community as well. And when we moved here, you know, one of the first events, one of my first dates when I met my husband is we went to the 4th of July celebration.
Ooh.
And, you know, it's one of those things that Slater still has, and we're very proud of that. So that part of our community, whether it be the Christmas on Main, those things are extremely important that the community club does. But we need to figure out how we can leverage that into how we're going to grow. And it does mean more families. Our population actually took a dive, and I think it was like 2009. And then it started to grow back up a little by little. And then the last few years it has really grown again. But part of that was because we lost a lot of families. And I think it's important that we're a family community, because that's, you know, who wants the small town environment. So we have to have the amenities for those. But to accomplish that, first and foremost, we have to figure out what our finances are, what we have, and how we can use the various pots of money that we have to grow the community. And then we have to put together that list and have a plan for that. And then as a community, and even the city staff and the city departments, we all have to work together on that. We might disagree, but ultimately we all still want to live in Slater, so we have to figure out how we can make that happen.
And Erica?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of new to say necessarily, but I would say one thing that I would like to focus on that touches on a lot of different topics is making strategic decisions. So planning long-term and making decisions not just for what's the need right now, what's the thing that needs improved, or what do we need to focus on in 2 years, but what's the impact, or what's the goal in 15 or 20 years. Growing up, I knew that I grew up right outside of town. I knew that Slater was where I wanted to live, and I hope at least one of my kids feels the same, right? So as they're very young, creating something so that it is a community that people continue to want to come back to and raise their kids. So being strategic about the decisions that we're making, and implementing things that allow us to do that, implementing a framework for that strategic, whether it's strategic planning or whatever that could look like. And being more proactive and not necessarily reactive, while prioritizing, you know, the essential things that need done, the improvements to streets or sidewalks, those types of things, but then also huge projects like the library and community center, and again, doing those things in a fiscally responsible way. And so I don't know that I could necessarily point out to you 3 specific priorities, but I would say being very strategic about the decisions that we're making as opposed to being reactive.
Okay, thank you. Russ?
I think everybody said something great, and I don't know that I have anything wildly earth-shattering to say. I think it is, along with what I started with building a brand, you have to kind of figure out who you are, what your strengths are. We're a biking community. It started as a railroad. That's why we sit here on the map. That's why Slater is here, is because of the railroad. Well, the railroad is no longer, and now there's all this bike traffic. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. We don't have a bike rack on Main Street. That bothers me as a business owner, that we're just not very, we all kind of know we're a biking community, but I don't see anybody putting wheels on the ground and doing anything about that. Every day that I walk my dog on the bike trail, I walk through weeds and grass and stuff to get to the bike trail. We hear in the coffee shop all the time from bikers that are from out of state, out of country. There are people that are traveling to central Iowa to ride their bikes around, and Slater gets to host them for a little bit. And I think that has to be cleaned up immediately. We need to make Main Street more friendly to, it's kind of closed off a little bit. It's kind of confusing to the bikers. They don't know where they're going. They don't know that there's even anything down there. That's frustrating as a small business owner. And you know, the signage and stuff that was even brought up at City Council last night, it has felt like it's all kind of up to us as the small business owner to figure out how to do it all. And then you find out that, well, maybe you have a sign that's not in compliance. I don't know that we do or not, really, but we need to pay attention to our strengths, who we are. We should not try to pretend that we're Huxley or Ankeny or anything. We need to think about who is Slater, why do we live in Slater. Most of us love that it is a small town. It's a great place to raise your family. It is family, 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 bikes, bikes, bikes. We have to keep those things in the front of our mind when we make all of the decisions, because otherwise we're wasting money and time.
Thank you. And also, audience members, you can come to the mic and ask questions too, if you have one. Okay, the next question. What do you feel you personally can bring to the city government? And we will start with Evie.
Well, I have a long record of service to our state and country through the National Guard, to our city in various roles such as the museum, and I served on Parks and Rec and the library board, as I said before. I've done fundraisers for the library with our porch concerts. Through the soccer club, I was a referee, president of the soccer club, treasurer, almost everything you can think of there. So through especially my military experience, I know how to develop priorities and execute action plans. I am very familiar with government budgets and how that works with the different pots of money. You can spend this money on certain things, this money on certain things. And also being in the military and just living in Slater, I've learned to get along with all walks of life. I love people, I love stopping people and hearing their stories, and I think that I can connect with the community and really find out what they need. And I especially think that with the new staff that we have, we're into an entirely different phase of development and growing Slater into a big small town and having that community stay the same.
And next, Julie.
Well, Craig and I have invested in the community for years, and it's been home, and we would like to see that continue to be. And I think we can help with that. I can help with that from the standpoint that we opened the first daycare in Slater and ran it for 15 years in the 80s. We've built some properties inside Slater on empty lots and torn down some old rundown places and built those. So we've had a lot of personal investment in Slater along the way, which I think is important. Also my business background, business plans. I couldn't have survived any of those jobs without being able to develop a solid business plan that you have to implement. So I think I can also help with that. And I do have the marketing background because I sold Ames for 20 years on bringing events and activities there, everything from a Farm Progress show to Odyssey of the Mind to Iowa Games. And so I've also dealt with that range of individuals and can sell and promote. So those are some of the experience that I have that I think I can help with the city. And I have the time to do it now that I'm so retired.
And Erica?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I can bring to council is that I'm from a younger generation.
That is an advantage.
It is. I'm not retired, but a differing perspective, right? When it comes from a younger generation with young kids, and my outlook here is a lot different. I've been very involved in the community club, and that touches a lot of different things, and I think that I don't know, the importance that volunteering and the impact that that has in the community, I would carry that into council, that dedication, and kind of thinking of it as like a fiduciary responsibility, making the decisions that are best for the town, not necessarily best for the individual, but what is best for the entire town and all the constituents. Professionally, I have experience in banking and an accounting degree, so while I haven't used that specifically the past several years, though I don't understand numbers necessarily, the in and outs of a budget, it's by no means foreign to me. I do a lot of work with strategic planning at the organization that I work for currently, And I already said, I feel that that is very important, whether it's, developing the brand or making those decisions strategically. I think that and communication around that and why the council is making the decisions that they make are very important. And I feel like those are skill sets that I use professionally every single day that I can bring to council.
And Russ?
It's hard going last. You guys are doing so good. You guys are doing so good. Building a business out of the ground, out of a thought, and making it go for 17 years here in central Iowa it demands that you're more than just a carpet cleaner, more than just a good carpet cleaner. You won't survive if you could be the greatest carpet cleaner in the world. And there's just a lot of lessons to learn along the way. I'll be 50 this year, so I fall probably somewhere in between. And I just get an absolute kick out of that part. I didn't know that when I got into carpet cleaning, I thought, well, I'm a good carpet cleaner. I want to do this. Surely I can just keep cleaning carpet and they'll just love it. But if people don't know about you, if they don't know what you're doing, if they don't know who you are or what you're doing or why you're different from anybody else, then you're not giving them any reason to call you or ever interact with you. Once you do get that figured out, and how to get the phone ringing a little bit, you find yourself in a lot of people's homes. I've been in and out of hundreds of homes here in the Ballard area, hundreds. I know a lot of people. I've been in their house and met their children and pet their dogs, and that requires a fair amount of communication along the way. And I'm proud of that. I've served all different walks of life. There is no, there's no type of, I don't know. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy living in Slater very much, and I want to play a part in. We will play a part in the direction of our, whether I'm elected or not, because we love it so much, and because we can't imagine really raising Max anywhere else. So anyway, I just appreciate the time you guys are giving us to talk.
And Taylor?
Me too. Could you repeat the question, the full question again?
Yes.
What skills do I bring to council?
What do you feel you can bring to the city council?
I hope I brought some skills that have been recognized at some point over the last 2 years. But some of the skills that I think are really important, and I think really important from all the members of council, but I think some of the things that the mayor has to keep their eye on, maybe beyond what the council's duties are day to day. The council really drives the agenda and the direction that we go. But one thing that I've found and believe is really, really important from your mayor and any mayor is to have a long-range thought process and to have a very strategic mind and to find themselves in conversations inside of our region, not just in our community, so that we understand and know what's happening around us, so that we can make decisions and we can bring resources, people, experts, partners to the council through the staff to provide education and foresight to the council so that they can, at the end of the day, make the best decisions. One thing I'm very proud of is we've developed a staff now, in my opinion, that puts all of the information in front of the council. A complete packet with alternatives that gives the council the ability to ask questions about the decisions we're about to make. We are going to make very big decisions over the next 2 years and 3 years and 5 years that will have a lasting impact on us, whether it's annexation to the east, or it's investing millions of dollars in XYZ project. Those will have a lasting impact. And the decisions will have consequences as well. And those consequences will be the sacrifice of other things. So I think it's very important that we have long-range thinking and strategic partnerships in the region so that we can make sure that this council, these individuals that get elected along with the other council members, have a lot of information in front of them and differing information, so that the vote and the decision, the resolution, or the ordinance that comes out of what we do on those second Mondays of the month is a well thought out and the best decision.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question. And we will start with Julie this time. Some communities around Iowa, some smaller communities around Iowa, are struggling financially. What creative ways can a town the size of Slater manage financial difficulties?
Oh, that's a really tough question. We see a lot of small towns in Iowa, and I grew up in northeast Iowa, and there's a lot of towns, if you're not close to a major hub, those towns are dying. We have some right around us that, as people move out, the town ceases to exist. So I think the biggest challenge for us is financially how to figure out how to maintain the community that we have. And the way you do that is, obviously you have to have more revenue. So the way you look at revenue is property tax. It's the largest piece of it. Nobody wants their taxes raised, including me. But property tax from businesses, commercial especially, pay a much higher property tax. There was one time, and I got this from the Historical Society, there were 26 businesses on Main Street.
Wow.
We have 12. So while people think Slater's growing, we have not really grown in the same sense. There used to be a pizza place on Main Street. There were 2 restaurants. There were 2 barber shops. There was, I don't know. I have a whole list of them at home, but there were lots of places on Main Street. We don't have those anymore. Nor have we gone much beyond that to the streets on either side of it, where naturally you would grow with business. So I think one of our priorities is really how to keep Main Street there and to bring in outside money to help us do the things that we want to do through either commercial or more residential housing.
Okay, and Erica?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what Julie said. I think, like you said, nobody wants their property taxes to go up. But figuring out how can we, what needs to happen on Main Street to get that number to go up from 12 to back to 26 or even higher. What do we need to do strategically to bring businesses in this year and continue to bring them in 5 years as things cycle? And not just Main Street. So while there is a time and a place for a business to be on Main Street, not every business that we could bring would necessarily belong there. So figuring out where else, again, strategically, what makes sense if we talk about annexation or what area or what direction we want to grow, where does that make sense commercially? Yeah, I think that's all I'll say for
Okay.
time. But
Russ?
I think that you need to play to your strengths. Slater, again, is a bike town. We need to be very serious about I'd love that everybody who lives in central Iowa would think Slater as like a bike. It is like the bike town. We've had bikers come into the coffee shop and share hundreds of pictures, and tell us these are wonderful older gentlemen that were just in last week. And they were like, look at this neat little, look at this is on the bike trail in this town that I've never heard of. He had 8 different towns I'd never heard of. Again, I'm from Western New York, so I'm not the authority on all of the small towns in central Iowa. But these guys were convinced that Slater needs to do a better job because, my goodness, look at what you have here. You guys have 2 bike trails and they connect. And we have quite the little thing, and oh my goodness, we're 10 miles from the High Trestle Trail. That's the #1 biking destination in Iowa. We're a short, do you know what 10 miles is? I'm not a big biker, but it's nothing to these guys. 10 miles is a perfect opportunity to come and rent a bike from local spokes or jump on, or to make this a logical place to go when you have a Saturday or a Wednesday or a whatever, when you have some time to go to answer those questions. Why would I go to Slater? We need to answer those questions for them. Let me count the ways. Right? But when we don't have access to the bike trail very good, we don't have bike racks on Main Street, when our conversations have all become very, very like this, I feel like there's a lot of things that we need to be talking about. And if there's any one issue that is consuming all of our attention, maybe that's the problem. That's one of the problems, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think that because if you can make this town more accessible, we are a bike town. We just are. We are such a bike town. A lot of us can't figure that out yet, I guess. It's so important that we open up access because they need to get down to our Main Street. It might be attractive to a pizza place if we had good access to the bike trail, but I don't know that they associate Slater with biking even. And that's sad. That's really sad.
Okay, Taylor?
Well, I think it starts with the strategic partners that you pick. You have to align yourself with really good partners. And when you talk about strategic planning, capital improvement planning, two things that I feel like I've been a champion of and had a council that was supportive of over the last 2 years. As we begin that process, it's not just important to brainstorm all the great things that we want, because everybody in this room has a list that's well beyond what Slater will ever generate in revenue. But what's important is to have the right partners in place and financial partners that can help you identify the funding pathways to that. The grant world is drying up, right? We've all heard that. We've heard the reduction of federal grant support, state grant support. You look at the state budget and some of the shortfall you're starting to hear. Guess what goes first? The grant funding. We've got to be very strategic about the partners that we use and make sure that we lay out the financial pathway to execution of the wants or the needs. And I believe it's the city's duty to focus first and foremost on the needs of the residents. And that has to do with the basic needs of any human, right? Our shelter, our water, our wastewater, access to the internet in this modern era, things like that. So it's important we have a good professional partner so that they teach us and educate us about tools that we can use to make the dollars that we do collect from the residents and the dollars that we do get from the road tax and the dollars we do get from local sales tax and maximize it, the revenues we get from water and sewer. I want to talk about one project that this council is, I think, proud of, and it's this project just here to the east of us, these two infill homes. That was a lot if everybody knows that sat vacant for a long time. The way that we structured that is we had to offer a developer cash to build that building, and we used it through an LMI, which LMI I won't go into. But the way that the city council strategically structured that deal with our professional partners was we're fronting money to that developer when they sell those homes. But we are in a TIF arrangement on those homes. So the property tax dollars that are generated from those homes over the next 10 or 20 years will return directly to the city of Slater, all the property tax dollars, which helps us strategically recuperate our initial investment, and so that the residents and the taxpayers aren't necessarily out that money over the time, we're recuperating it over time.
Okay,
And it's
thank you.
tools like that.
Evie?
Well, again, having dealt with large budgets in the military where at the end of the fiscal year you had to have several back pocket requests so that you could spend the money, because if you didn't spend the money then you wouldn't get the same amount next year. And I feel like in a municipality such as Slater, we do have extra funds at times that don't go into a separate bucket. And through a strategic plan, we can have our little hip pocket projects that we want to put that money towards, or we have a long range plan that we bucket that money until such time as we need it. But some of the things that everyone's touched on, obviously we need to bring people to Slater that will build houses so we can get those property taxes. We need to bring people to Slater. I agree with Russ. I served on the Community Vision project a while back, and one of the things we talked about was creating bike lanes down Main Street and Marshall Street especially, so that all the city trails connected, so that people on the High Trestle Trail or Heart of Iowa Trail might take that little detour and follow the city trail to Main Street. The connection that you talk about that is all weeds, we've talked about that in the community visioning. But these things didn't happen at the time because it just wasn't a project that Slater was ready to deal with. We didn't have the staff to write grants and things like that. So those are some smaller things we can do to redirect traffic and get more people to Main Street and grow our businesses there. And I feel like, as Taylor said, you know, we need to start partnering with people and businesses to the point that it may not pay off tomorrow, but in the long run it will.
Okay, thank you. Any audience questions? Couple thank yous. Thank you for speed signs on Lynn Street. It has helped slow traffic. And thank you for better communications with the public through website, Facebook, agendas, Zoom meetings, etc. Keep it up. Any comment on any of these? We can start with Erica.
Yeah, I think that I would totally echo the communication. I think that that's greatly improved. I think that is as a result of council and Taylor's, and then with the help of the new administration folks. I mean, I think that they're doing a great job of increasing that communication. I think the constant struggle is always how do you reach everybody? What you put out there in writing, you know, folks aren't always going to read. We talked earlier about information in the scoop, but you can still miss it. So it's hard to figure out how do we reach everybody and how do we get them the right information. You know, sometimes the rumor mill isn't always the accurate information, and so I think that the efforts that they're doing now are great, but I think that just needs to keep continuing, thinking about ways that you can get in front of the right audiences and share the right message or the accurate message. But I think the communication has been wonderful.
Okay, Russ?
Agreed. I would say thank you too. I had nothing to do with any of that, but I have felt it too. I've seen, and I know that Taylor even ran on that a couple of years ago. I remember him saying how we needed to be posting these meetings and everything. I think it's been wonderful that you actually have done it. You've been doing the things that you've said you were going to do, and I appreciate that. That's why I voted for you before. So thank you for doing what you said you were going to do. And I'd love to play a part in continuing that and being visible, being accessible. You know, I think it's super important. Communication is huge, and good job on doing all that. The whole culture in City Hall is improved. It is nice. They're friendly. It's nice. It's nice. Stop in there and say hello. They wouldn't even mind. They're super nice folks. And anyway, yeah. Thank you guys for doing that.
Taylor, any comments on this?
I'm very proud of what our council has done as far as communication goes. Sometimes the public doesn't always know, but it was very much a fight to improve communication and a strategic process that a couple council members and myself and worked through to try to improve. I was very, very persistent on the fact that I wanted council meetings to be accessible regardless of if you were physically in the room. I feel that it's really important that we at least create the opportunity for people to get the information at a minimum. And I felt like over the last 2 years, we have made the recordings or the online attendance more available than it's ever been in this community. And I'm proud of that. Speed, I think, is something we should always be concerned about. Our town is split north and south by a major state highway. And our town is somewhat split, or our eastern, the East Slater is split by a major county highway and thoroughfare from the metro to the northern metro of Ames. So I think we should always be concerned about speed. The city council recently elected to fund a study by Snyder and Associates to study the R38 corridor and those intersections, to evaluate and determine what it is we need to do to, one, improve the safety, two, expand the long citywide dream of the city loop and extend wider, better sidewalks down R38, make the crossing at R38 and 210 easier, but also just that intersection of Main Street and R38, or Lynn, if you have not been on that intersection at 7:45 or 7:50 on a weekday, you have no idea how chaotic it is. And anytime you have traffic patterns, people try to cut those traffic patterns, and that moves in now to our city streets. So we're very, very conscious of that. I'm conscious of that. I have a 5-year-old that walks to school and that I walk with. I'm committed, and the council's going to be committed to always keeping that at the forefront, because the safety of kids going to school and traveling on their bikes, we want to be a biking community. It's very important that we address speed so that the kids can ride their bikes or their scooters down the street safely.
Thank you. Evie?
I'm thankful too. I'm one of those people that goes south out of town, and I am doing 25, and the closer that person is to my bumper, the slower I go.
Plus the smiley face.
The smiley
Yeah,
face.
the smiley
I was gonna
face.
say
I
that's
live for
one.
the smiley face on the speed sign. I'm always a little surprised when we have 5 different ways for social media to contact people, and yet people are still uninformed in some way. So I'm very happy with the increase that we've had in the transparency and the contact we get from City Council. One thought that just popped into my head is we have so many community events that we can go to, and that everyone in town seems to be there, plus half of Huxley, that great community that's expanding our way. I think that city council members should be present there, and they should also wear identification. I think we should be approachable in public. I felt like everyone knew me last time I ran in 2016, and only 155 friends, I guess, I have in Slater, so. But it just goes to show that we can live here our entire lives and still have a lot of people that don't know us, don't understand our views. And as a city council person, I would say I will be very accessible to people. I will be identifiable. If I have to wear a badge, that states my name and city council, I think that's a good way to go.
Julie?
There's no doubt that some of us have slowed down coming and going from Ames, which is a good thing. But when you were late for work, I probably didn't pay a lot of attention to those signs, but now I do. So those were good, but really a huge thank you to City Council and the mayor and all the council members. We've been doing business with the council for years, and the only way I used to be able to find out if we had an agenda item, I would ask, would you let me know when this comes up on the agenda? I would get no response. I had to go into City Hall and look at the door and read the agenda on the paper that was taped to the door to find out what was going on. That's not a good way to do business in a community. So again, I agree with everybody, but the council has really made a difference in some of the changes that we've had recently, and I think the community of Slater will be grateful for everything to come because of that. So thank you guys.
Any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, it is now time for closing remarks. Candidates, if you would like to respond further to any of the questions asked previously, or make any other final remarks, you each have 2 minutes to do so. So we will begin this time with Russ. You're going to be first this time.
Thank you guys for coming. I think this is actually one of my favorite things about Slater is a lot of us, it is an engaged community. We care about one another. We care about the future of our town. I hope you guys know that I very much care about the future of our town. We plan to live in that building, especially my wife plans to live in that building forever. Sometimes I talk about getting an acreage outside of town somewhere, but anyway, we love it, and we love it as it is. And I don't want any of my previous remarks to come off as negative. I do see a lot of room for improvement, but the reality is we do choose Slater as where I've lived in a lot of different places, and Slater now for just 5.5 years. We don't plan on leaving because we truly, the way that the community has embraced, particularly the coffee shop, has been remarkable to me, truly. It really, it's awesome to be embraced by a small community where I'm not from here. There are no other Terhars to my knowledge in maybe even in Iowa, I don't know, but not around here. And anyway, I'm just really thankful for this community, whether I win the seat or not. You guys can count on us. We're gonna keep pushing like we have been pushing, and trying to make. We live on Main Street, so our focus has been very Main Street focused for the last 5 years. But it will be fun and interesting and challenging and everything to broaden my understanding and my idea of what Slater needs other than just what's on Main Street. So, thank you guys.
Taylor?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on just a few quick things. Most people today probably received a flyer in the mail, if you looked, regarding the local sales tax vote that's going to be on the ballot. And I'd just like to clarify a few things about what that topic is. There's lots of revenue sources that the city gets. The vote that's coming on November 4th is related to the ability for the council to use those funds. Just because that vote would pass overwhelmingly the 50% or the simple majority of 50%. It doesn't mean that money goes away. That money just has expanded usage to be acted upon by the direction of the council. So I just want to clarify that the vote's not changing anything from a functionality standpoint day to day. But what it does is it unlocks an opportunity or a funding mechanism that the city council and the city of Slater doesn't have today. And that is to utilize those funds to issue bonds to fund projects. That's all that happens. There is no bond being issued, there is no bond being voted on. The vote is about opening the opportunity to utilize the tool. So I just want that to be clarified because I know there's lots of misinformation out there. If you vote yes, those funds don't go away tomorrow. It will take the action of a council through public hearing for those funds to be committed to anything or a bond to be issued and that revenue to be directed towards those bonds. So I think it's very important that that's clear because there's going to be a lot of information and there's going to be a lot of discussion about the usage of those funds. The real question comes down to, what will the council use it for? The council's different. Who knows? It could be used for a plethora of things, or it could not be used at all and continue to be used for property tax. So I think it's important to say that. The other thing I just wanted to say is I know we've talked about growth here in town. I don't believe residential growth is going to be a problem for our community. And so I'd like to slow down the incentivization of residential growth and shift that incentive towards commercial development, industrial development. People don't know, but the tax rate on a commercial or industrial property is a bit higher than what the residents pay. So it's very important that we invest in that and we find the ways to use the tools we do have to bring those to town. Can I have a little longer? My time's up. Do we have time?
Yeah, we have time.
Would that be
That's
acceptable?
time. Yep.
They say I'm long-winded. So that is a very important thing that we need to focus on. I think the urban sprawl will bring people knocking. If D.R. Horton's considering a neighboring community, you can bet that that company has done their research on the region and is evaluated and looked at other locations. So I think the strategic time period that we have to focus on is growing that commercial tax base and industrial tax base. And I'm very committed to figuring that out. We own a business on Main Street. We're very committed to growing that Main Street. So that is something that's really, really important. And I think something we need to focus on. And if we don't accomplish this in the next 2 years, I'll be extremely disappointed. But it's my objective right now to leave in the next 2 years and have accomplished a comprehensive plan that focuses on our long-term strategies and goals, what the residents need, what the residents will want. But an important factor is expanding our annexation of the area around us so that we create and have control for the strategic benefit of the future. If we don't annex beyond our borders, then other cities can come to our borders. So it's important that we expand those borders so that we have protection and decision-making related to what and where things go from a long-term planning perspective. So that's very, very important, and so the comprehensive plan has to get done with this next council. The other part is the consistent process of capital improvement planning related to the budget process, and so that we view all capital projects, regardless of department, or regardless of whether it's a need of the community or an amenity or a want of the community, that we see them all in a strategic landscape with a financial plan that overlaps it, so that what we can do is continue to take excess funds. I know Abby mentioned some excess funds, some things like that, some rollover accounts you've heard us say at council. There are rollover accounts. There are buckets of money that individual departments have saved for future projects, which is great. We love to have department heads that are focused on the future and committed to a strategy in their own mind. But it's important that that's public and that that is debated and discussed among the council, and that those funds are put into a fund to fund what is determined by the council, the residents who appoint the council, as the priorities, so that we can put those funds to work to accomplish those faster than every department saving and trying to fund their project individually. The council needs to fund those projects collectively and prioritize those collectively. So at the end of this next term, I hope everybody in this room, but the residents of Slater, have clear access to a comprehensive plan that tells them what the future looks like, a capital plan that tells them what we're saving or spending their money on year to year. So thank you for letting me go over. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be your mayor. It's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life through this point, outside of my family and my children. But I'm very, very proud to represent this community, and I'm very, very proud to live here. And I look forward to a really long future here and seeing this development and growth and changes come. So thank you all for being here. Please come also on the 30th to the City of Slater at City Hall. There'll be another forum, very exact format, very similar format to this, where it's open to the public for questions. Please consider attending that as well. Hopefully we'll have some additional candidates there, so you can get a real taste for all the candidates that are running this year. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And would you say, God bless Slater?
Me personally?
Thank you all.
Sounds like a nice place. Candidates, is it okay that we allow Taylor that extra time since he's the only person running for mayor?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sounds
We don't
good.
want that much time.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay, Abby, go ahead. You were
I have a question for Taylor, though. So I appreciate you bringing up the vote that's going to happen regarding those funds. But just to be clear, voting yes on this does not raise taxes. Is that correct?
The vote on November 4th does not raise taxes.
Okay, thank you.
The usage, I'll clarify, it's a revenue bucket.
Right.
And so what impacts taxes is our revenue buckets. And so the vote will not impact taxes at all. But should a city council choose to use all those funds for something, or use all of that's available to them by law, then yes, we'll have to analyze taxes. Anybody would. It's just like our own budget. But this vote will not change your property taxes. That's not of any concern, because that's not what will raise the property taxes.
Okay.
So Evie, we'll start your 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Slater, and I just met a new friend that lives across the street here a couple of months ago, and got her to be on the mural committee with me, so another committee that I'm on. And she loves it here. She said, I have been so accepted into this community, and I feel at home already. And I feel that that could be a new Slater motto: we've never met a stranger. I think that we're very welcoming, and I used to joke, I'm 64 years old, I've lived here all my life, and I'm still one of the new people. Because I'm not related to 2/3 of the county, but not looking at the Weekses. But I do think that that is one of the charms of Slater, and I think everything we said about strategic planning can maintain those things, and that would be something that I would be fully behind. I have worked with the Heritage Hall Museum now for I don't know how long, since my mom talked me into it. And I'm very proud of the work that I've done there. I feel like I have investigated programs and avenues of ways to further the museum throughout the state. We're now internationally known in some venues through our Vietnam exhibit. And those are all things that I've had my fingers on. I manage the budgets there. Part of the fundraising, and kind of just, lift heavy things. But I think that part of that, and having that knowledge of history in Slater, is going to enable me to help take Slater into the next phase. I have, again, knowledge of government budgeting and how government works, and I think I work well with others. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Julie?
Well, first I'd like to echo the information about the vote. I think it's important that we give the council, no matter who's on it, the tools to work with moving forward. And I think this is just one way, if we change the local option tax, that they will have a tool that they can use for a variety of things. And again, today, none of us can tell you what those projects or initiatives are going to be, but I do think it's important that the council has some flexibility with that. Again, it'll always be the citizens of Slater that help make those decisions by showing up and voicing your opinions. Slater's been our home. When I was raising our kids here, my my husband's parents and his grandparents. We had 4 generations living here, and it was special. And I think Slater is still a 4-generational community. It might not all be the same family, but if you look at the demographics, the 3 highest number of people here are in their age groups of 5, in that age group of around 5, and then it's 39, and then it's 55. So we do have all of the demographics that we need, but we need the amenities to keep them. We want the 55-year-olds to stay here as long as they can, because I know they want to stay here. They don't want to move to Ankeny or Ames. They want to stay here and have to have the amenities to do that. Larry's is a great amenity. It keeps us here because we can go to the grocery store really easy. The 5-year-olds need the stuff. They needed the daycare. We needed the daycare. We now have that. The 39-year-olds and the 55-year-olds need the coffee shop. You know, some need the workout facility. So we are getting those amenities to keep them. And I think I can help figure out what those amenities are and that span those, because I've lived all of those age groups and I do know what goes on in those. So I really do look forward to helping Slater become what it can in the future. And again, thank you all, and thank you to the League of Women Voters, because this is the first time they've been here, because we have obviously more people running for office than usual. So thank you all.
Erica?
All right. So I think a lot in my personal and professional life about priorities. And I mentioned that already, that, you know, I think council has a lot of prioritizing to do over the next couple of years and even longer than that. Personally, you know, community involvement, volunteering has always been a pretty high priority for me. In the community club, I'm going to put a little plug. We have a meeting here tomorrow at 7. If anybody wants to join, we would love to have more than like 8 faces in the room. But that's true. I mean, we are a small group. We put on the 4th of July celebration, and there's like literally 7 to 9 like active members. And so it would be easy to say that it's a lot of work to do those things. But that engagement in the community, those things like the Christmas on Main, the 4th of July celebration, those things rank really high on my priority list. They're hard to do with a small workload, but I'm going to continue to be involved in those things, just like a lot of other people will, right? As things are hard, as there's fewer and fewer folks volunteering to help out with things, we'll continue to do that. And you know, I just hope that I have the opportunity to have that same impact and put that effort towards city council. I think that Slater's a great town, and I cannot believe nobody has said it yet. Everything's greater in Slater, right? Like, that's the mantra. You mentioned a new one. I know it's kind of cheesy, but we say it for a reason. It's on t-shirts for a reason. Because for whatever reason or another, to all of the people that live here and are brand new and already feel so welcome or have been here their whole lives, I mean, it is just a great place to live. And so whoever you vote for, and encourage your neighbors to vote, let's make sure everybody gets out and vote. We've got a good slew of candidates. We've got good options. And I think we all have good intentions, and you can't make a wrong choice. That's what I'll say. But I would love your vote.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think Slater is in very good hands, whoever gets elected. Okay, and thank you all for a very informative evening. Before we conclude, I want to remind everyone to vote on or before Tuesday, November 4th. There are various ways that you can register to vote if you are not done so already. You can download a voter registration form from the Story County Auditor's website. The deadline for submitting a voter registration form is this next Monday, October 20th. Or you can register tonight in the table in the back of the room. No table tonight. Mary will take care of you. So do we have registration material back there? No. Okay, never mind that part. Or you can register to vote on Election Day at the correct polling place for your address. For that, you must have the proper ID. Absentee ballots may also be found on the auditor's website. October 20th is also the deadline for submitting absentee ballot requests, or you can take that back. If you have already requested an absentee ballot, you have until Tuesday, November 4th at 5 p.m. to have your ballot delivered inside the auditor's office in the Administration Building, 900 6th Street, Nevada. Ballots not delivered by 5 p.m. on Election Day will not be counted. Also, there will be 2 satellite voting stations in Ames. One is Friday, October 24th at 60 Forward on South Walnut at Ames. And the next is Saturday, November 1st at Ames Public Library, and both are from 9 to 4. Thank you, candidates. It was very interesting and thank you for taking the time to share your views and for your commitment to serve. And thank everyone for coming and actively participating in the election process. And this concludes our
Is there any other
candidate forum.
questions after our closing statements? I know that's unconditional, but
Are there what?
was there any?
Any questions after their closing statements? I think we're good. Thank you.